Hello class and welcome to this Batman Return of the Joker walkthrough right here on Video Games 101 by way of Let's Play with Brigands. I'm your instructor, Professor Brigands, and this is Sunsoft's sequel to the original Batman title, which was so critically acclaimed, came out a year or two before this one. They got rid of the wall jumping mechanic for some reason. It's hard to not compare this to that game. I don't know why they got rid of that. I don't know if it was in the name of originality, not wanting to repeat themselves. They subbed in a much less satisfying kind of Mega Man 3-like slide mechanic. I don't know how they explain that away. Something about that just bugs me, that Batman suddenly forgot how to hang on to walls between games, but this game looks really good. Doesn't play nearly as well as the first one, but it's certainly one of the better looking games on the NES. Also, comparing it to the original Batman, we gave that game an 8 out of 10, a very difficult game. This one, with the exception of a couple stages, not quite as so. I'm going to go ahead and give it a 7 out of 10, which on the frustration scale equates to punching a hole through the wall. Never to worry though, class, we have the best tips designed to get you through this game, keeping your temper in check. Blaze has information on all the weapons of this game, including the best weapons power-up to grab. Gary has your boss beaters, tips for taking down every single boss in this game with ease. And Fluff has a number of interesting facts about this game. And considering this is one of the shorter games on the NES, once again we're going to bring in Fluff a little bit early to help explain why this wasn't a game based on Batman Returns, the film, just like the original was based on the original Batman. And get some context. Fluff, what do you got?
So the original Batman from Sunsoft, which was their licensed title based on the 1989 Tim Burton film of the same name, was released in late 1989 in Japan and 1990 internationally. Turning out to be a big hit and critical success for Sunsoft, they understandably wanted to quickly follow up that success with a sequel. The 1992 sequel to the original Batman film, Batman Returns, was still a couple years away, so Sunsoft decided to make a sequel to the original game based more on the comics. The result was 1991's Batman Return of the Joker. It should be noted that an official licensed game based on Batman Returns the film came out in 1993, but was developed and published by Konami, and was more of a beat-em-up than a platformer, and most critics and players consider that to be pretty underwhelming. As for why they changed the gameplay and formula in this game so drastically from the first game, and many would argue for the worst, I can't say. Perhaps strangest of all was that a different developer named Ringler Studios released a Sega Genesis port of this game in 1992 under the name Revenge of the Joker. A Super Nintendo port of the game was completed as well, but never was released, though it's since surfaced in ROM form on the internet. Lastly, and just to make sure you're even more confused, Sunsoft also made a completely different version of this game under the same name for the Game Boy in 1992, which focused more on the platforming and retained the wall jumping, which was a huge part of what made that original Sunsoft Batman so great.
I think I got it. Thank you, Fluff. Anyone play that Game Boy Batman, by the way, or Return of the Joker Batman? Anyway, let's run the intro and get into this Batman Return of the Joker walkthrough for the NES right here on Video Games 101. Alright, as we begin a new game of Batman Return of the Joker on the NES, let's take a look at the controls for Batman Return of the Joker on the NES. You can see right here, as I mentioned in the opening, you can hold down and tap A to do that slide. A is jump otherwise, B is attack. You can hold that to charge when you have one of the power-ups, everything except for the base weapon. If we take a look now at the Briggs notes for this Batman Return of the Joker walkthrough, the keys to beating this game: C for the win. It is far and away, in our opinion, the best weapon in the game. Blaze will talk about that a little bit later. Secondly, scroll the screen. Not always of paramount importance, but every now and then it helps to scroll out an enemy that you wouldn't otherwise see ahead of time, so you can react accordingly, maybe shoot it. And then lastly, follow Gary's boss beaters and work the right side of the screen. Gary will talk about that more in detail as we get into his boss beaters in just a bit. Note these statues you could take down with the C weapon with one shot right there. We are done with 1-1, heading on into 1-2 now, as we see this Zeppelin in the background. Stage 1-2. Note you got a couple turrets there firing. If you stay in the back of the screen, you'll be fine from those. Just be careful about being crushed between a box or a building and nothing on your left side. I mean, I accept screen scrolling in some games, but the idea of Batman being crushed by nothing on the other side of him annoys me more than it would in a different game. I don't know. Maybe because this game feels more like it's rooted in reality. And yes, I know the absurdity of saying a game based on a superhero is closer to reality, but Batman's not really a superhero per se. He's just an extremely wealthy man who decided to take justice into his own hands. As you do. I'll get off my soapbox now. We got our first boss coming up here. I do appreciate, I will say, that the front turrets shells land a little bit in front of the back ones. Anyway, Gary.
It's Scary Gary's Boss Beaters.
Alright, the first boss here in Batman, Return of the Joker. Basically just you want to get in as close as possible and fire with C as quickly as possible, particularly on the right-hand side. If you want to pretend that Sunsoft put more thought into this battle, you can slide through him to get to on the side he's not facing, to potentially maybe get shot a little bit less, but yeah, otherwise just get as close as possible and shoot as fast as possible like we show here. He goes down very quickly with C.
Thank you, Gary. As we're heading into the next stage and a half, it's pretty straightforward. Just follow along as we bring in Blaze now to give us an overview on the items and weapons of Batman Return of the Joker.
Alright, let's talk about the items you can pick up in Batman Return of the Joker, starting with the Backpack Energy Capsule. Collect 8 of these to get yourself 9 seconds of invincibility, while Batman fires uncontrollably, killing anything stupid enough to step in front of him during that brief but deadly 9 seconds. You might want to grab 7 of these, and just know that you can just pick up 1 more to trigger that invincibility during the more difficult stretches of this game. But moving into the actual weapons you can pick up, first B for Batarang. You would think with this being a Batman game, the Batarang would be better, but no, it's a weak, albeit seeking shot, which will seek out your enemies, I'll give it that. Charged up by holding down that attack button, you'll get 3 large circling shots. Not that much better. Not a fan of the Batarang here in Batman Return of the Joker. I am a huge fan of C for Crossbow, a powerful single shot which splits upon impact, and the smaller shots do just as much damage. Same is the case if you charge it up. Get 4 small spread out shots, do a lot of damage, just as much as the full shot, and when they hit off a surface, they will spread out and hit other targets. My weapon of the game, the crossbow. Moving on to a very close second, the Sonic Neutralizer. These fire twin arcing shots. Charge this up, you get a powerful snaking shot for a limited amount of time. And then finally, S for Shield Star. It's a small straight and diagonal shot with the normal shot, and then if you hold it up, charge it, you get, as the name suggests, what turns out to be a very weak shield from the Shield Star. But there you go, the different items you can pick up here in Batman Return of the Joker.
Thank you, Blaze. Just in time for arguably the most difficult stage in this game. I'm very sorry to say on behalf of Sunsoft that the only way to complete this stage, to survive it, is to memorize exactly where every enemy, every trap is. And by enemy, I mean those stupid cyclone shooting enemies. And by trap, I mean the missiles which drop down. Just kind of inch forward and they won't hit you as long as you're not charging forward. Pretty much impossible to jump on that step and not get hit by a cyclone, but make sure you're aggressive, jump to the front of that so you don't get knocked back. The ice here, there's a pit up ahead when you're surrounded by ice and on ice. If you get hit while you're on ice, you'll get knocked back into this pit right here. So jump to the snow right there to grab traction once again. Once again, kind of bait out these bombs or missiles dropping in from above. And then this last one, if you just kind of inch forward, you can avoid getting hit there. The more health you can conserve in this first half, it's going to make the second half a lot easier. This Still tricky, this 3-2 stage right here, but compared to that last bit, not nearly as bad. We can trigger these boulders to drop just by getting close enough here. Part of what makes me angry about this game is that the damage detection doesn't always seem to be consistent. Sometimes one shot from C directly on, and we got the invincibility here. Yes, sometimes a direct hit from C will kill an enemy, other times not so much. It's a little frustrating, but certainly save your invincibility for that stretch right there to make it easier. Note that you can get down right there without being crushed, but yeah, this is that's an instant death if those spikes hit you, as you might assume. So be careful when you're jumping as well. See the charge shot on C with the extra range right there, kind of nice. But there's never really enough enemies on the screen to warrant using it, or need to use it, so. Anyway, next boss, Gary.
Boss beaters. Alright, the second boss here in Batman Return of the Joker. Once again, you want to get on the right side of the screen because you'll find that you can fire a lot faster on the right side of the screen for some reason, probably because this game is made so very well. If you're going to get hit by the boss, make sure he hits you rather than his laser projectiles, but if you follow this pattern right here, you can jump between the lasers when he's on the right, and then when he comes back over, get those shots and then jump over him. You can make the whole battle without taking any damage like we show right here, but there you go.
Thank you very much, Gary. Yeah, you can't do this on the left side of the screen for whatever reason. I noted Gary's sarcasm there. Spent enough time with him to be able to detect that. But yeah, this is a very useful rhythm right here that you can get into without taking any damage from that boss. Still full of the 80,000. Very strange, the kind of Street Fighter type battles that they put us in for the bosses here with the number counter up to 80,000. But anyway, mind the gaps here on the train. There's going to be 4 of these guys flying in at the start. Good chance to fill up your backpack, as it were, your bat pack. There's going to be one more, actually. If you duck right there and take a shot, you can get that guy, get through that whole stretch without difficulty. And it's going to be some sort of creatures. I'm sure those familiar with the comics will be able to identify these guys. But yeah, be careful. Being stuck on things that you can't see on the ground, it's easy to try to move forward if you stay in the back and then find that, oh, you're stuck on something and it's too late to jump because the screen has scrolled you into the side. So be very careful there. It's kind of nice, again, when you hit an enemy with that C weapon. Gets it to kind of spread out, hitting some other enemies potentially in the right circumstances. Yeah, this stage not too bad compared to that ice stage right there. On to 4-2 now. In some sort of warehouse. One nice thing I'll say about this game is that when you kill an enemy and you go back to the left and you come back to the right, they haven't like respawned by scrolling. So that's nice. Once they're dead, they're dead. Another couple enemies right there that probably should have gone down with one hit from that weapon, but from the crossbow, but that's alright. So we have some kind of little flying machine right there just hovering in. Faster you can take it down by shooting those crossbow shots off the side, then get over to the left once you do and take out this guy who drops in on the right. Then when you get a chance, move over to the right side to avoid the guy dropping in from the left. But yeah, the sooner you can take out that little hovering guy, the easier this is. It's designed to have him stick around for the entire elevator ride. So once you take him down, just have to worry about a couple bullets here and there moving in, and those just literally 2 guys that dropped in. And we're out of this section now. By the way, I haven't mentioned this yet, but if you shoot one of the power-ups when it's showing, I think there'd be something fancier there with 2 crates back to back. Just 2 power-ups. It'd be nice if we could stack C's on top of other C's, get like a super crossbow, but not the case. But yeah, if you don't like the letter that's showing, you can shoot that power up and have it switch to the next letter. I think it's alphabetical, actually. I could be wrong about that, but but sort of like Shatterhand in that sense. Just wanted to mention that. Also, I don't think I mentioned this, but if you take all but, say, 1 damage, you're about to die basically when you get to the boss. They'll always top you off. You'll always have that 80,000 HP for what it's worth, so. Speaking of bosses, though, time for the next one. Gary?
Boss beaters. Alright, third boss. Remember when I earlier said that Batman unaccountably fires faster on the right side of the screen, at least when he hits something? Well, it's time to put that to practice again, as we are shooting against the wall, using those projectiles to hit the boss above. The only time you want to aim left against that left wall is when the boss goes over into that left position, but otherwise just keep firing on the right until he goes left, and change it up. Go back to the right, repeat this process, you'll take him down.
Thank you, Gary. Let's see if we can get through this one without taking a hit. Trying to make sure this little robot here doesn't have a chance to power up its cannon, as it does a decent clip of damage to us. I think it's 10,000 damage. It might get 1 off. Yep, full 10,000 damage, 1/8 of your health overall, but we got it. Like even Batman here looks dissatisfied that he's in this game. Angry he's not in the first Batman game, thinking that one was so much better. Can thread in between those 2 waterfalls right there to avoid taking damage. If you're quick, you can avoid a lot of these little explosive pods hitting you all together. If they're already coming down, you just jump in between them to get the timing right. Be careful when you jump on a platform. Like to get down low a lot of times, but yeah, make sure you're more on the right edge. If you get knocked back into the water, that's not a good time, because Batman famously can't swim. Find ducking usually a good strategy to avoid taking damage, and also to line up a shot better in a lot of cases. There we go, got another side scroller here. Like to stay on the left-hand side of the screen here and get level with the flying bike enemies to avoid their rockets. After you take those guys down, you can just position yourself with where we show you and avoid most of the damage in this stage. It's crazy how unbalanced the different levels are in terms of difficulty. But anyway, before I rag on this game too much more, let's bring in Fluff to talk about some other people ragging on this game.
In terms of reception, you kind of touched on this in the opening, Professor, but Batman Return of the Joker was criticized for its vanilla and lackluster gameplay, especially compared to its predecessor. That said, with dark, sophisticated animations in its characters and backgrounds which arguably capture the aesthetic of Batman's universe as faithfully as any game, most credit this game as being on the shortlist of the best-looking titles on the NES. With complicated and oftentimes moving animated backgrounds to boot, it's no wonder the game is relatively light on enemies in the name of avoiding frame dropping and excessive flickering.
Thank you, Fluff. Yeah, it's a pretty game. I just wish it played more like the original. It's not a bad game. I don't mean to make it seem like it is. It's just, like I said, it's just very vanilla. That's all I can really say. It's a very pretty game, but it's not the most satisfying to play, and I just can't help but compare it to its predecessor. But anyway, mind the beams right here. Usually just slide past that first one and accept taking 1 hit moving forward. These dropping platforms are not difficult in the least to stay on top of. Just stay at a normal clip and you'll be just fine. So now 6-2. Just want to make sure you're not in the back of the screen. Mind the dropping spiked kind of mace balls right there. And every time you take out the driver, or I guess just one of the guys in that tank, another one pops up about 3 seconds later. Like a clown car. How many of those guys did they fit in there? Probably weren't expecting us to kill this many of them, but... See, sometimes it hits them, or it kills them with 1 hit. Other times, not so much, which I don't really get, because you see the projectile still going in all directions, so it's not like they're hitting the guy. Not too difficult, though. Make it to the end, and it's time to take on the Joker. Gary?
Boss beaters. Alright, the Joker. Stay on the right or left-hand side of the screen, jumping and firing those C shots. and then sliding when he starts moving towards you. You want to stay on the side that he's not on, obviously, but then slide to get to that other side more quickly, avoid some bubbles that way. You get extra shots in when he laps in the middle of the screen. His name is Joker after all, so thankfully he likes to do that a lot, so you can get a lot of cheap hits in on him. But repeat this process, you'll stay ahead in the damage count, better off than the damage he's doing to you, so repeat this process, you'll take him down.
Thank you, Gary. Yeah, the beginning of the boss music here sounds a lot like the boss music in Blaster Master. A little bit like TMNT as well, but definitely Blaster Master, which another Sunsoft title, the best Sunsoft title, if you ask me, actually. What's your favorite Sunsoft game, class? Did we get another Fluff fact from Fluff?
Just to make sure I'm not through confusing you, Professor, there's actually a completely unaffiliated animated 2000 film called Return of the Joker, which takes place in the universe of the Batman Beyond series. There was actually a video game tie-in with that film for the PlayStation, but in getting back to the film, it featured what most of the fans of the Batman animated series consider to be the quintessential voices for Batman and the Joker, in Kevin Conroy and Mark Hamill respectively. It's also a who's who of late 90s star power, with Will Friedle, Rachel Lee Cook, and Melissa Joan Hart all providing voices.
Thank you very much, Fluff. Had a big crush on Melissa Joan Hart when I was a kid. Probably mentioned that in a previous class. I don't know, I feel like we were just talking about her in another class at some point, but back in the Clarissa days. I think I specifically made the comment that I would, if I were Clarissa's father, be very uncomfortable with another teenager putting a ladder up to my daughter's bedroom window and just, visiting whenever he pleased. But anyway, on to the final stage here in Batman Return of the Joker. Might as well grab that invincibility right now here at the start because won't have another chance really to use it, and this is the best place to use it, there at the start. This is more just about platforming, not too many enemies here. So, gotta be very quick with the reflexes with this next part. You need to duck to get underneath the spikes on the first platform, then jump off of it, right here, and then jump up, and then quickly get off again, and then don't let this one drop, jump off. Tricky little stretch right there, but if you get through it, Gary, take us home.
Boss beaters. Joker and his big machine. Very similar to the third boss fight, but it's actually easier because you don't need to worry about aiming for the other side. You can just keep firing in that bottom right corner to keep shooting Joker in the face. Just repeat this process. I wish I could tell you it was more difficult than that. I really do, but it's that simple. Just make sure you get in just the right sweet spots so you can maximize your firing rate like we show here. Congratulations, you have beaten Batman Return of the Joker.
Thank you very much, Gary. Excellent boss beaters today, as always. Thank you, Blaze. Yes, C is the way to do it, the crossbow. And thank you very much to Fluff for all the facts today. But there we go, Batman Return of the Joker from Sunsoft. Probably still better than Batman Returns, from what I understand. But I'd be curious your thoughts on that, class. Obviously, Batman, the original, best Batman title on the NES. But after that, how do you stack up those two games? Batman Return of the Joker and Batman Returns, based on the film, obviously from a different developer, as Fluff mentioned earlier. Very different game from Konami, more of a beat-em-up, but few games on the NES looked as good as that one. I will certainly give it that. Not a bad title all around from Sunsoft. And I'd say right there and about their normal pocket of difficulty as well. Usually Sunsoft games pretty challenging. This one is no cakewalk. It's just me, or does Batman look like he's kind of drunk when he's flying that? A little tipsy there. Stay on the stay in the sky, Batman? Yeah, stay in the sky. Remember, you can't swim. That's been well established over the course of this class. Special thanks to you, class. All my TAs, obviously, but thank you so much for being here. If you haven't already done so, please consider subscribing to Video Games 101 to enroll in these classes, by the way. We do one of these classes every single week in the same spot. We would love to have you enrolled. Click that like button, too, if you don't mind. It really does help us out to make future classes for you. But that's our time. We'll see you next week in the same spot for next week's class, right here on Video Games 101. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like and comment on this video, and click subscribe if you haven't already, as this seriously helps me to keep making great content for you. And check the description of this video to see what song is playing right now.
Train stations in November, train station.